want to start by saying that this isn't the first bad experience I've had while dog sitting, but it's definitely the worst. So, I started dog sitting back when I was 13, and I made good money while doing it. I'm currently 19, and this happened when I was 18. I set up an easy way for people to contact me. I put out posts on Facebook and Instagram about it often, and would get people in my messages asking me to dog sit. I got a notification from Instagram one day stating that someone was trying to message me. I accepted it, and the message read as follows. Me and my wife are looking for a dog sitter while we go away for this week to Florida. You'll have to work from the 4th to the 11th this month. We will pay you $300 for the week. You're welcome to stay at our house or go back to your own. It sounded like a good deal to me, so I started talking back and forth with this man. For the sake of privacy, we're going to call him Mr. Brown. So, I agreed to take the gig, and I told him I would stay at his house for the week. Once I got to his house, I was introduced to his two dogs, Mina and Letty. Mina was a little Yorkie, and Letty was a blue hound. I was shown around his house, which was surrounded by 76 acres. I live in a farm town and live on roughly 32 acres myself, so staying here didn't really freak me out or anything. The closest neighbors were pretty far away, and you would actually have to drive there if you wanted to talk to them. They told me the rules and when to feed the dogs and so on. Mrs. Brown told me about the nearest neighbor. In her words, she said that she was a nice person, just a little drugged up and confused at times. She mentioned how sometimes she would pull into their driveway instead of hers and would end up mistaking Mrs. Brown for her dead daughter. Yeah, a little morbid, I know. Hearing this made me feel pretty bad for her, and I know all too well how hard it is for parents to lose their children because of how my parents were after losing my brother in a car accident. Mrs. Brown said she shouldn't do anything bad though, and if she came up to the house, just point her back to her home and she should leave with no problems. After they left, I sat down to watch movies and just chilled with the dogs. The first 2 days went relatively well, no real hiccups or anything. The third day, however, the old woman who I'll call Miss Rose did pull into the driveway. I came outside as she was getting out of the car. She looked up to see me and she immediately got back in and left. I chalked it up to her realizing it was the wrong house when she saw me and went back inside. Later that night, I got a call from Mrs. Brown asking if I was okay. I said yes and asked her why. She then went on to tell me about how she got a call from Miss Rose, and that she said there was a robber at their house. I explained what happened, and she just laughed and said that she must have been confused and forgot that they were out of town. I ended the phone call making a note to go over there tomorrow and clear the air with her about me, not being a robber. Once I went to bed that night, though, things went south, quickly. I woke up around 2 hearing a light scratching sound that almost sounded like tickling coming from the outside window. At first I thought it might have been a bird or some sort of night creature, and I left it alone for a little bit. But the noise kept on and kept me from falling asleep, so I wanted to scare it away. I got up and went to go open the blinds on the window, but I wasn't met with a bird, to say the least. When I lifted the blinds, I was staring directly eye to eye with Miss Rose, trying to pry the window open with a pair of pliers. Once she saw me, though, she started banging on the windows with the pliers. The dogs started barking now, and I quickly got up. I told the dogs to follow me and grabbed my phone and ran to a room with no windows, which was the bathroom, locking the door just in case she got in. I called 911 and explained the situation quickly, giving them the address from what I could remember. She said that the police would be there in 10 minutes, which was pretty good considering the area I was in. I'd gotten the dogs to be quiet and put them in the closet connected to the bathroom to make sure she couldn't hear them. I was trying to stay calm and I could still hear the pounding on the window. As I continued to talk to the operator, I heard something that made my heart sink. She broke in. I cursed under my breath, trying not to cry. I was really scared and pretty much ready to break down from the fear of being beaten to death by someone who is very clearly not in their right state of mind. I was whispering what was happening to the operator hiding in the back of the bathroom. After about 4 minutes of pretty much dead silence, I heard footsteps walking up to the door. I looked at the gap between the floor and the door itself, and I could see a pair of feet standing on the other side. I then see Miss Rose get on her hands and knees to look under the crack, and I mistakenly let out a gasp. She got up quickly and started pounding on the door. I can tell she's still using the pliers, and at this point, I'm completely losing it. I'm crying, asking the operator where the police are, and she said they're about 3 minutes out. Those 3 minutes felt like forever. I screamed to Miss Rose to please go away, and she screamed back at me that I shouldn't be here. Once I heard the sound of police cars about a minute later, and them trying to kick the door down, I felt a little bit better. I was told to stay on the line until the intruder was caught. Eventually, they did manage to get in, and I yelled to get their attention. Not that they needed it, she was still banging on the door like a maniac. Once they got into the room, she was told to drop her weapon, and she obeyed, saying that she didn't do anything wrong. They got her in cuffs, and the police officer told me that it was okay to unlock the door now. After being taken to the police station and giving them my story for their report, I went to my parents' house because, well, I just couldn't spend the night alone after that. The next day I called Mrs. Brown and she explained the situation. I got full payment even after telling them that I wasn't going back to the house. They called me a few days later saying that Miss Rose was under the influence of drugs, and in her words she told the police that she decided to take care of the intruder, obviously me, and that she did nothing wrong. Ironically enough, she ended up getting charged with breaking and entering. After that, I quit dog sitting, and I'm now a lot more paranoid at night. I double-check to make sure my doors and windows are locked at all times. So, maniacal Miss Rose, let's not meet again. During my sophomore year of college, I suddenly had to switch dorms due to the housing and residence life at my university being complete assholes to me, to say the least. Long story short, I lost a job I was working, and they said I had to move within a day. Thankfully, my parents came down from 5 states away and made a huge fuss in the housing office, so I was able to get more moving time. This is important later in the story. I used to go on Instagram Live a lot because I'm a music minor and I thought that practicing in front of a quote-unquote audience would help me improve my piano skills. I guess Instagram had begun offering the feature of showing stories and live streams through the Explore page, so I ended up getting a lot of views from people who weren't necessarily following me. Nothing too bad. I usually just got song requests that I couldn't fulfill because I had a strict repertoire from my piano professor. I used to enjoy the live streams a lot until I got a comment from a man one day who knew the exact location of my university. See, I never wore any attire during live streams or even publicized my location on Instagram for that matter. So, this made me a little nervous. I stopped doing live streams shortly after that and ended up getting caught up in some regular work at school, so I didn't think too much about it. A few weeks later, I got a few messages from the guy, offering to take me on a date. A quick scan of his profile made it clear that this guy was at least 50 years old, and keep in mind, I was a newly titled 19-year-old by this point. He asked me several times a day what buildings my classes were in, and if I liked the cafeteria, and so on. Eventually, I got pretty creeped out and just blocked him. Before I blocked him, however, I called him a pervert and a fucking weirdo for being interested in me when I was so much younger than him, and trying to find me while I was trying to go to class. A few weeks later, after I'd forgotten about his weird messages, I got a message from a new account he had made saying something along the lines of that he waited outside my old dorm for me to come out, but I never showed. Did you go home for the weekend? You shouldn't be so rude to me next time, or else you're not going to have fun when we meet face to face. I'd be lying if I said this didn't scare the hell out of me by this point. My close friend graduated from the university and began working as a campus police officer around the same time, so I went to her to see if I could do anything about it. Sadly, not much was able to be done, but I definitely pulled back on my social media presence. The guy followed me from 2 more Instagram accounts with different usernames, and I blocked them all before he could even message me. Thankfully, since leaving after that spring semester, I haven't heard from him or anyone else. So, 2 summers ago, I was 16 and I went to the shore with my family. Me and my sister, who was 15 at the time, would go walking on the boardwalk every night since it was, the cool thing to do. We would just mess around and play games, go on rides, and whatever else. We also used to dress up pretty nice before going, and we would take pictures for Instagram. Yeah, I know, I was basic. So, one night, me and my sister finished getting ready, and we each posted a selfie on Instagram. I was never one to get a shit ton of likes or anything, or comments for that matter. I usually got an average of maybe 30 likes, nothing special. But this night I got a comment on my photo from some random stranger. Keep in mind my Instagram isn't private, so anyone can comment whenever they want to, I guess. It seemed to be some guy who was around my age, and he commented the word gorgeous under my post. Me being dumb politely said thank you and left it at that. Then he proceeded to ask me for my kick, if anyone still remembers what that even is. I thought this was pretty lame, so I didn't respond, but this is where it got pretty creepy. In his next comment, he said, "I'm at the same shore as you. We should meet up." He even decided to go the extra mile and put the exact name of the shore I was at. I was super creeped out because I never said I was at the shore on Instagram at all. Then I replied and said, "No thanks," and then he proceeded to reply back, begging me. I started getting scared, so my sister commented and told him to leave me alone, and then the comments stopped. So we get to the boardwalk, and I pretty much forgot about the comments at this point. Me and my sister grabbed some ice cream, and we started walking, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw a guy leaning against a wall, staring at me. With our cones in hand, my sister and I decided that we'd go sit on a bench somewhere, just take a break. After I sat down, I was able to get a better look at the guy. And wouldn't you know it, it was the same exact guy from the Instagram, staring dead at me. I froze up and grabbed my sister's arm. He just kept staring at me, and me and my sister decided that we were going to run back to the place we were staying at, which, in hindsight, probably wasn't very smart because he could have just followed us home, but fear makes you do some stupid things. After that, I think I got a few more comments calling me pretty, but they stopped eventually. So, creepy boardwalk guy, let's not meet again.